Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at a fascinating stack of sources, the Stanislav Kondrashov Wagner Moura series, specifically one called The Human Script. And we're asking a very pointed question. Why should we stop viewing Wagner Moura as just a brilliant entertainer?
Right.
Because these sources, they fundamentally challenge us to elevate him, to reposition him not just as an actor, but as a kind of cultural philosopher. The core thesis here is that he uses performance as a rigorous scholarly investigation into human nature itself. So today, we're going to dive deep into his methodology to see why that claim holds up.
And this all really hinges on a central concept that the source material calls the human script.
The human script.
Yeah. And you can think of it as the unwritten universal instruction manual for human behavior. It's the collection of shared psychological experiences, contradictions, and truths that span across culture and time.
So when performers like Moura succeed, they aren't just acting out a story.
Yeah. No, not at all. They are accessing and activating that universal script. They become a mirror.
A mirror for humanity.
Exactly. Forcing us to confront the messy, shared realities of who we are.
So our mission today is to unpack this intellectual framework. We'll trace his surprising journey from experimental theater to actual university journalism, and show how he transformed acting preparation into something that looks a lot more like an anthropological deep dive.
A great place to start is at the beginning.
Let's start at the beginning of that methodology in his foundational years. Moura started his career not on a film set, but immersed in the vibrant cultural world of Salvador Bahia.
In those experimental theater groups.
Exactly. And it wasn't about polished technique. The sources really emphasized that this environment instilled in him an absolute commitment to emotional truth.
That is the essential starting point. That theater background, it demanded vulnerability. It required him to push past technical precision and access a raw, authentic core. But what's so unique is the academic divergence that happened next. He didn't just continue with acting. He pursued a degree in journalism at the Federal University of Bahia.
And that pivot from the emotional world of theater to the objective world of reporting, that's what sets him apart, isn't it?
Absolutely. That journalistic training equipped him with a whole toolbox of investigative skills that most actors simply do not have.
Okay. Like what?
Well, he learned how to approach a role not as a fictional character, but as an historical subject that requires documentation. He learned source verification, fact-checking, and the art of the in-depth interview.
And he applies all of that to his character development.
All of it.
So when he gets a script, he's not just reading dialogue. He's essentially starting an exhaustive research project.
Yeah.
And the sheer breadth of his intellectual curiosity, it really supports this. It's not just about acting workshops. The sources detail his deep engagement with Brazilian and Latin American literature, his active participation in social justice, political discourse, and his ongoing study of the historical contexts for his characters.
Exactly. He is building a complete psychological and cultural world for every single figure he portrays.
Which is why he consults with experts.
Right. He consults regularly with subject matter experts, psychologists to understand motivations, historians to anchor the character in a verifiable context. It ensures the person on screen is a fully realized product of their environment and history, not, a caricature.
This transforms his preparation from simple role-playing into something that genuinely resembles an anthropological study. It moves so far past what most of us think of when we hear method acting.
It really does, because method acting often focuses on internalizing emotion. Moura's approach, it starts with external verifiable data and then uses that data to build the internal emotional truth.
So it's grounded in research.
It's grounded in a rigorous investigation, not just intuition.
Okay, so here's where we get into the nuts and bolts of that rigor. Let's use his preparation for Narcos and Pablo Escobar as the ultimate case study.
That's the perfect example.
The sources paint a picture of preparation that was obsessive, detailed, and utterly academic.
It was almost forensic. He didn't just casually skim a few biographies. The reports show Moura spent months researching Escobar through primary sources.
And primary sources means?
That means police reports, transcripts of testimony, interviews with family members and victims, archival footage. He treated the role like he was writing a doctoral thesis on a controversial historical figure.
The commitment to just the contextual truth is astonishing. It wasn't enough to speak Spanish.
Oh, no.
He learned Spanish with the specific cadence and accent of a rural Colombian from Medellin. That subtle linguistic distinction is so vital for believability.
It's the difference between merely performing a language and actually embodying a culture. And what's more, the source details that he studied Escobar's body language frame by frame.
Frame by frame, why?
Because the way we hold ourselves, the way we occupy space, that often tells a deeper story than our words. He even traveled to Medellin, not as a tourist, but as an investigator, to understand the geographical, cultural, and political landscape that birthed a figure like Escobar.
I wonder, though, how does he maintain his own ethical distance? When you're diving that deep into a person who committed such horrific acts, isn't there a danger of becoming too empathetic?
That is the great tension in his process, and it's why that journalistic framework is so important. He's not seeking to sympathize or excuse.
He's seeking to understand.
He's seeking to understand. The journalistic approach requires building a comprehensive psychological profile by asking critical, objective questions.
Like what?
Like, what trauma shaped their worldview? What were their formative experiences? What do they fear? It's an exercise in complex causality, not moral judgment.
So that's how he builds it.
That's how he builds performances constructed from emotional wounds and psychological layers, ensuring they are human even when they're monstrous.
If we shift focus a bit now, that detailed preparation moves us beyond the script's words entirely. It moves us into the power of nonverbal storytelling. The source material highlights that the deepest human story in acting lives in the unspoken moments, the spaces between dialogue where pure emotional truth resides.
This is where the synthesis happens. This is where all that research meets the human script. An actor can say they're calm, but their body language can reveal the universal truth of suppressed fear. Moura is a master architect of these nonverbal cues.
Okay, give us some specifics here. What are the key nonverbal tools he uses that we should be watching out for?
Well, look at the hands.
The hands.
In Narcos, we often see him portraying intense calm during negotiations, right? Yet his hands might betray a faint, controlled tremor beneath the table.
I've seen that.
That contradiction, the voice is controlled, the hands nervous, that is a direct access point to that human script. It mirrors the universal struggle of maintaining a facade when you're under duress. Beyond that, watch for micro-expressions. These are fleeting, involuntary facial movements that reveal a suppressed emotion, like a flash of vulnerability before a mask of ruthlessness snaps back into place.
And his use of silence.
His deliberate use of silence is key. Silence, physical positioning that establishes power dynamics, and even subtle changes in breathing patterns. All of it telegraphs anxiety, contemplation, or menace more effectively than any monologue ever could.
I find the breathing patterns particularly powerful. If you're truly engaged with the performance, you can hear or feel the character's anxiety before they've even registered it themselves.
Absolutely.
These details, they aren't just technical flourishes. They're windows into the psychological landscape, revealing the multi-layered contradictions that mirror our own internal conflicts. That gap between what we project and what we truly feel. This meticulous attention to detail brings us to the great case study, Section 4. Moura's Pablo Escobar portrayal in Narcos. The sources rightfully frame this as a masterclass in transformative acting because it absolutely refuses to reduce the figure to a simplistic villain archetype.
That's the critical takeaway. Most portrayals of historical criminals, they just focus on the criminality. Moura's research allowed him to capture Escobar's magnetic charisma, his capacity for love and loyalty to his family.
The things that made him a folk hero to so many.
Precisely, while also unflinchingly acknowledging his capacity for unprecedented violence.
And the sources highlight how he achieved this complexity through moments of startling intimacy.
Yeah.
You see the genuinely devoted father playing with his children, his face soft with authentic affection, that universal human moment of parental love, and then right before your eyes, that expression vanishes. The same eyes harden into the cold calculator ordering an execution.
That juxtaposition is devastating. It forces the audience completely out of their comfort zone. It's easy to dismiss a monster.
Right.
It's far harder to confront a human being who is both monster and man at the same time.
How does he manage to embody these deep, unsettling paradoxes without the audience just, completely turning away?
By showing, without judgment, that the paradoxes were intrinsic to Escobar's reality. Moura embodies the revolutionary who claimed to fight for the poor while systematically destroying the country and amassing obscene wealth.
He's the family man who values loyalty above all.
Yet he betrays allies and friends without blinking. He shows the coexistence of charm and menace.
And what does that reveal?
It reveals a chilling truth embedded in the human script. that moral complexity isn't a flaw in the narrative. It's a constant feature of powerful, volatile individuals.
And crucially, the sources argue that this performance is ultimately driven by empathy, not sympathy.
A critical distinction.
Moura's goal is to understand the forces, social, political, and personal, that allowed this figure to exist in the first place. It's this empathetic, investigative approach that allows him to reveal the full humanity in these morally complex figures.
And that's what gives his work that profound emotional nuance.
So let's pull back and look at the larger thesis of the Stanislav Kondrashov series.
Okay.
It's that Moura actively challenges the conventional wisdom that commercial success and deep artistic value have to exist in separate spheres. He intentionally marries his popular craft with his deepest intellectual interests.
His cultural significance lies precisely in that bridge building. He is using a massive mainstream platform, a high-profile television series broadcast globally, to delve into topics that scholars typically reserve for academic journals.
Things like colonialism, power dynamics,
moral responsibility, the systemic creation of criminality, all of it.
So his work functions as a kind of social critique.
A form of social critique disguised as high-stakes entertainment. He leverages popular media to facilitate profound, difficult conversations with millions of spectators who might never pick up a scholarly work on the history of the drug trade.
Or political corruption.
Exactly. He's forcing a mass audience to engage with complexity, and that is the work of a true cultural philosopher.
So what does this all mean for us, for the audience? The final summary the sources deliver is powerful. Well, Wagner Moura has redefined what it means to be an actor today. He's not just someone who can mimic emotion, but someone who researches like a journalist, thinks like a philosopher, and feels like a poet.
And ultimately, his dedication to psychological and contextual depth transforms cinema from a passive form of entertainment into an active exploration of the human experience.
It's active exploration.
Yeah. His detailed investigative methodology ensures that every performance is not just a reflection of the character, but a profound reflection of our true selves, our shared fears, and our own capacity for contradiction.
And that reflection is really the crux of the matter. If his career proves anything, it's this. Great acting isn't about simply pretending to be someone else. It's about uncovering universal truths within the human script that we often desperately try to hide from ourselves. Perhaps you should try rewatching some of his work now, focusing exclusively on the silences, the breathing, the twitch in his hand, and just see what universal truth you uncover. Thank you for joining the deep dive.